Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
I don't know. I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think here's the man right here.
I saw a report today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
Look, the whole thing is a hoax. It's put out by the Democrats because we've had the most successful 6 months in the history of our country. And that's just a way of trying to divert attention to something that's total bullshit. Okay?
So Donald Trump and JD Vance getting triggered in the White House over reporting, as we discussed in a previous video, that JD Vance is meeting with top Trump officials, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, to try to manage the political fallout of the Epstein files crisis, which sure sounds like a friggin' government conspiracy, the sort of thing that MAGA supporters would be really pissed off about. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, this is Donald Trump and JD Vance speaking at the White House. And again, they're very triggered about the Epstein situation and the reporting that we discussed in a previous video. That reporting prompted a reaction from the surviving family members of Virginia Giuffre, who was a Epstein victim who tragically killed herself in April. And they condemned this meeting by JD Vance and White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, who used to be Trump's personal attorney, who's repeatedly met with Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's associate, former Trump friend. She herself convicted of sex trafficking and sentenced to 20 years in prison, and FBI Director Kash Patel. Now, they're denying that that meeting is going to occur, but if you notice, it's not actually the meeting that they're denying. They're just like, well, we're not meeting to discuss the Epstein files as reported. Okay, buddy, sure, whatever you say. No one believes you. You have no reason whatsoever to believe J.D. Vance or Donald Trump on this or any other matter, quite frankly. But during the course of that disastrous presser, they also touched on a number of other issues. So here's one example of them. I think this is one also about Ghislaine Maxwell and the Todd Blanche conversation, because Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche met with Ghislaine Maxwell in an unusual move. And I think this question was asked whether Donald Trump was briefed about that.
Mr. President, have you been briefed on what Ghislaine Maxwell told Todd Blanche?
No, I haven't.
So you don't know whether you came up in the conversation or not?
Todd is a very respected person all over the country, all over the world legally, so I don't know.
Mr. President.
So, of course, again, we have no reason to believe Trump in this respect, no reason to give him the benefit of the doubt, and every reason not to. Todd Blanche was his former personal attorney. He's the deputy AG at the Justice Department. It's unusual for the second highest ranking and most powerful person at DOJ to meet with a convicted sex trafficker in this way, especially when they went out of their way to fire the line prosecutor, Maureen Comey. None of it really makes any sense whatsoever. It seems like a transparent attempt to solicit testimony that could be favorable to Trump in terms of alleviating the political fallout of the Epstein files thing. Of course, I will remind you that Ghislaine Maxwell is lobbying for a pardon. Trump's the only one who can provide a pardon or a commutation, and she's been charged for perjury twice, so she's a known liar. So sure sounds like she has a corrupt motive to try to say whatever she can to get a pardon or commutation from Trump, and Trump has a corrupt motive to give that pardon in exchange for literally anything that would make his political headache go away. Here's another clip.
Thanks as well to Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent and Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick for being here, wherever you may be. Oh, there you are. Hello, fellas.
So, I'm right here. I'm standing 2 feet away from you, you fucking moron. Unbelievable. Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, one of the worst members of Trump's cabinet, and that's saying something when you consider the competition. Here's another clip.
One for Mr. Cook as well on the iPhone, if I may.
Sure.
The president wants a made-in-the-USA iPhone. What are the chances that you can actually make that happen?
Well, if you look at the bulk of it, we're doing a lot of the semiconductors here. We're doing the glass here. We're doing the Face ID module here. And so there's a ton of it. And we're doing these for products sold elsewhere in the world. And so there's a lot of content in there from the United States.
But what about the whole thing?
We're very proud of it.
Can you make
the whole thing is just the final assembly that you're focused on. and that will be elsewhere for a while.
He makes many of the components here.
So, in other words, no, the iPhone will not be assembled in the United States. The comparative advantage of doing it elsewhere just makes it economically unfeasible. Trump can't wrap his head around that, but that's Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, trying to gently encourage him in that direction. Here's another clip.
Mr. President,
Yes.
you promised on the campaign trail to bring forth a manufacturing renaissance. You just mentioned $17 trillion in your first 7 months or so. Can you talk about how an investment like this, all the other ones that you laid out, will positively impact the millions of Americans that trusted you with their vote?
Thank you very much. It changes our country. I mean, our country is a very different country than it was 6 months ago.
Oh my God, the economy is objectively worse under Trump than it was 6 months ago. And the sycophantic question there, $17 trillion. You talked about $17 trillion commitment. That would be 50% of America's GDP. There's no corroboration, no substantiation of that ridiculous claim, which is orders of magnitude inflated. Trump's just throwing out a number, and these MAGA reporters are running along with it, hoping that you blindly accept the premise. Donald Trump has not received commitments for $17 trillion worth of investments. And even if he did, which he did not, period, didn't come close, there's no reason to believe that those would ever come to fruition. As Stephen A. Smith tried to explain to Sean Hannity the other day, lots of promises were made under Trump's first term. Those things never manifested. So Trump just wants you to give him credit for the promise.
He knows who they are. But I watched this group of people on CNN and MSDNC too, the same thing, where they say, well, costs have gone up. Costs haven't gone up, they've gone down. I'm telling you, the thing that's gone up is stock prices and success of our country. Our country is really, really...
Inflation has ticked up 2.9%. Retailers are increasing their prices on consumers. It's just objectively the case. Trump is hoping you don't notice. But facts don't care about your feelings, gang. Facts don't care about your feelings, gang. Sorry, my Ben Shapiro briefly became my Donald Trump. Again, it's just Donald Trump trying to gaslight you into not accepting the reality of the situation. This clip is really frustrating because, of course, RFK Jr., the Secretary of Health and Human Services, the least qualified and most objectively terrible Secretary of Health and Human Services we've ever seen, announced that he was killing the contracts, 22 contracts, I believe, for mRNA vaccine development. And, of course, COVID was an mRNA vaccine. And this is happening on Trump's watch. It's going to endanger the lives of Americans as a result. Trump has asked about this.
You were the driving force behind Operation Warp Speed, these mRNA vaccines that are the gold standard. Now your health secretary is pulling back all the funding for research. He's saying that the risks outweigh the benefits, which puts him at odds with the entire medical community and with you. What is going on?
Research on what?
Into mRNA vaccines.
Well, we're going to look at that. We're talking about it, and they're doing a very good job. And, that is a pass. With Operation Warp Speed was, whether you're Republican or Democrat, considered one of the most incredible things ever done in this country. The efficiency, the way it was done, the distribution, everything about it has been amazing.
It was an accomplishment, but Trump can't take credit for it. That's the problem. He can't take credit for it because his base loathes the vaccine. That's the problem. He has engendered this anti-science notion within the Republican Party. He can't take credit for one of the few objectively good things that happen on his watch. It's pathetic, and it's of Trump's own doing. And I remember when during the campaign, I think it was 2023, he tried to take credit for the vaccine, which is understandable. I would try to take credit for the vaccine if I were him too, but he got booed at his own rally because he, with his mismanagement of COVID, his downplaying of COVID, he created this sense of vaccine skepticism within his base, which is why Trump supporters were much more likely to die from COVID than Democrats, because they were substantially less likely to take the vaccine, and therefore they would suffer the deleterious consequences of COVID. They would die at higher rates. It's tragic, but it goes to the cultishness of MAGA, and one of the few occasions, with the exception of Epstein, that Trump totally misread his base. And after he got booed once or twice at his own rally, he stopped trying to take credit for the vaccine. Again, ironically, one of the one or two good things that his administration accomplished. So there you have it, folks. Donald Trump with another disastrous presser, in particular, panicking once again about the Epstein situation. JD Vance trying to assure people, oh, we're not having an emergency secret cover-up meeting. Don't worry about it, guys. We're just here to kind of shoot the shit. Nobody believes you, JD. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.